So what's up guys, I'm Black Ops Amazing, welcome back to another video on the channel where today we are going to be ranking every single wonder weapon within Treyarch Zombies. Starting all the way back in the beginning World at War to the latest Modern Warfare 3. Since we have had so many wonder weapons over the years, there are lots to choose from and the majority, as you would expect, are extremely good. So because of that, it is really difficult to rank a lot of them over others. Honestly, I would much prefer to put a lot of these on the same level because it's so hard to pick some over the other. But of course, this list is all just based on my opinion, and I've based it off a few things. One being how powerful the wonder weapon is, two being how easy it is to get and accessible. Is it a buildable wonder weapon? Can you get it from the mystery box? And three, how fun it is. And I will also admit, there are some wonder weapons that I simply haven't used much, simply because they're in maps that I don't tend to play as often. So all of that will come into consideration. So ranking every single Treyarch wonder weapon from worst to best, starting off with the worst is the VR11. We have recently seen an improved version of this in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, so what I'm going to do with weapons like this is just bunch them into one, instead of saying the VR11 in Modern Warfare 3 is better than the one in Call of the Dead, because then we'll end up having 70, 80 weapons to rank. Unless there's an extreme difference, I'm going to put variants of weapons as one. So the VR11 as a whole, for me, is the worst wonder weapon in Zombies. I know if you're playing co-op, this is a lot better, but on solo, which is the mode that the majority of players play now for Black Ops 1, it is intended to be used with the scavenger, but the casual player probably doesn't know how to use this weapon properly. Basically, one shot from this turns a zombie into a human, compared to the majority of other wonder weapons which kill multiple of the undead with one shot. The VR11 is near useless. You're better off just keeping your standard weapon. The next worst wonder weapon is the jet gun, or the Thrusterdyne Aeronautics Model 23 in Transit. In a similar way, there is a proper way to use it. What makes it different to other wonder weapons is it has infinite ammo, but only because it has a kind of cooldown system, so you have to tap the trigger, otherwise it overheats and breaks. It's not fun to use, no one wants to use it like that. Everybody wants to just spam a wonder weapon and have it kill the undead. Having to be so careful not to break it is just really annoying. It doesn't take a weapon slot, which is nice. It counts as a buildable. You can kind of fly with it. It's almost a poor man's paralyzer. But yeah, it's slow at killing the zombies. It takes a long time to cool down. And any wonder weapon that can break, to be honest, people don't even consider this a wonder weapon a lot of the times. It's not good. Next is the Scavenger, the other wonder weapon on Call of the Dead. Just like the VR11, they are intended to be used together. It's pretty much a sniper. It's perfect for this map because it has a lot of long range spots on it. It works similar to the crossbow where you shoot an explosive bolt and the zombies are attracted to it. And it is powerful, but the fact that it's a sniper, for me, kind of goes against what a wonder weapon should be. You want something that's going to take out a huge horde of zombies in front of you. It's very rare that you actually need to use the scope. It doesn't have a big magazine size. Don't get me wrong, it's not completely useless, but out of all of the great wonder weapons that we have in Zombies, it's pretty much one of my least favourite. Next is the Tundra Gun. This is kind of a recurring theme with Call of the Dead, or in this case, its remastered version, Tag der Toten. The Tundra is simply a bad version of the Thunder Gun. I have seen some people place this really high up, but every single time I've gone to use it, it makes me think, how can you make the Thunder Gun so much worse? I don't get it. It defeats the whole purpose of what the Thunder Gun was. It fired kind of a thunder blast to get you out of any sticky situation, whereas the Tundra Gun fires a cryo round, and I find it pretty ineffective. It's not good, and, well, you wouldn't believe it, we are back with Tag der Toten, because the next worst wonder weapon to that is the Wunderwaffe DG Scaff Schütze. That's probably pronounced incorrectly, but the sniper-fied version of the Wunderwaffe. What was it with Treyarch when it came to making wonder weapons for this map? Call of the Dead, Tag der Toten, they're all either terrible or, by wonder weapon standards, overcomplicated. As you can see, it's the Wunderwaffe with a sniper scope. It does have a higher ammo capacity and a slightly lower range, which you would think contradicts that it's supposed to be a sniper. The big thing for me is the zombies have to be closer together than they did with the original DG2 in order to chain kills. I'm not a huge fan of it. Next is the KT4. I feel quite bad about putting this here. I think I've kind of got an agenda of the fact that you have to build it, and it's one of the more, to me, annoying wonder weapons to build. But in terms of its damage and effectiveness when you do have it, it's actually really good. It's great against the Thrashers, causing their weak spots to break instead of having to shoot them one by one, which is really challenging when they're moving about. It also instantly explodes the spiders, and similar to the Sliquifier, when you shoot it at the zombies, it causes spores to grow on them, and then they explode. That's probably the gun that it's most comparable to, but it's nowhere near as good as the Sliquifier. However, it's definitely not bad, and I think from this point on, every weapon I would say is good. The rest you can argue between yourselves, but I don't really hate any other wonder weapon further up on this list. I just find some better than others, and with the The next one, the Winter's Howl. Now, if we're just talking about the Verrucht version in Black Ops 1 or 5, it deserves this spot, but when they reintroduced it to Black Ops 4, it totally changed my mind. I really like it. I love its fire rate. You can just spam it. You do have to be careful if you're doing that though, because it only has a small magazine size, but just the nimbleness of it and fire rate makes it fun. And the maps that it does appear on, Verrucht is a really challenging map, so perhaps a better, more powerful wonder weapon would have suited it more, but then Verrucht wouldn't have been a challenge either, and the same with 5. Next on my rankings is the Scorcher. You might be thinking, what the hell is this? I've never heard of it. Well, it is our latest COD Zombies wonder weapon, which you can find in Modern Warfare 3. Honestly, I haven't got my hands on this on such a long time just because I don't really tend to play MW3 Zombies much, but it's good, and it's specifically great for this mode because of its ability to plunge you into the air, allowing you to quickly traverse through the huge map. It was made for MW3 Zombies. It also has high damage. I do find its range is actually quite short, and the amount of time it takes to charge up shots if you're in the higher areas is a little bit long, but yeah, it's perfectly adequate for this map. It wouldn't work on other games though, besides from Transit. Next we have the ray gun. Now you might think it's a little bit weird how high up it is on this list, but you have to remember this was the first wonder weapon in Zombies. Since then we've had the Ray Gun Mark III, the Mark II, which to me are both improved versions, along with a whole bunch of others. What I love about the Ray Gun is it appears in almost every Zombies map. It isn't in, I don't think, Firebase Z, but it's always there when you need it. It's handy, and the reason that is because it's powerful, but I wouldn't say it's super OP. It definitely has its drawbacks, such as the splash damage. If you don't have PhD, you have to be careful because I can't count the amount of times I've been down by it, but I also can't count the amount of times it saved my life. Think how much harder Zombies would be if the ray gun didn't exist, and I say that, but a lot of the times I also just don't get the ray gun because I normally have my standard weapon, which is for getting points, whether that be an assault rifle or a shotgun, and then I would have the actual wonder weapon in the map, maybe the Winter's Howl or the KT4, and because in the older games you could only have 4 perk slots, I rarely ever brought Mule Kick. I'd always go for Juggernaut, Quick Revive, Speed Cola and Double Tap. Those were my 4 perks, meaning I couldn't hold 3 weapons. And so, because I wanted the wonder weapon in the map, and then I wanted a weapon to get points with, those are my 2 weapon slots taken. The ray gun, sometimes I just had to leave, because it's simply not better than the majority of regular wonder weapons. But it's still extremely good. It's really powerful, it's a classic, it's reliable. Nostalgia tells me it should go way further up this list, in the top 10 even, but yeah, I'm just going to place it there because for me, a better or actually more fun wonder weapon to use was the wave gun. And that's what comes next on my list. This gun was obtainable on the map Moon. As I just mentioned, one of the most fun wonder weapons ever in Zombies. What's unique is it kind of has 2 different variants, so you can have a dual wheel configuration or you can make it into one. So the Zap gun version of it fires a red ball of electricity that kills all of the zombies it touches instantly, similar to the Wonder Waffle, although it only kills the zombies it hits, it doesn't chain together. And then the Wave gun, which is what it's called when you put it together, fires a purple beam that causes any zombie that's caught in its blast to start expanding and then explode, resulting in instant death on any round. As you can see, it's so fun, it's really powerful, it can kill 820 zombies when it's pack-a-punched without needing a max ammo. Yeah, this is a really underrated wonder weapon. The next best one I think is the Ray Gun Mark III or the GKZ-45. Similar to the wave gun, this is another dual wield. The GKZ-45, which is the weapon that you hold in your left hand, shoots a yellow cloud of energy that slows the zombies down, and then the Ray Gun Mark III, which is the weapon you hold in your right hand, shoots thin versions of ray gun bullets or energy projectiles. What I do like about it is, unlike the regular ray gun, there is no splash damage, so you can't down yourself with it. It's safe to use in close quarters, and my favourite feature is if you shoot a bullet from the GKZ-45 on the ground, and then you shoot the Ray Gun Mark III into it, it creates a black hole, pretty much a ghost device. So it technically has 3 attacks. A ghost device, as you will know, is a get out of jail free card. You'd usually use that item when you're trapped in a corner. It's kind of like a monkey bomb, so to have that feature available on a wonder weapon was really useful. Next is the Death of Orion, or the Scorpion weapon that we had in 9. I used this recently and it is so fun. It has to be one of the coolest looking weapons in the game. It's a scorpion that shoots electricity. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this is quite common in the box compared to a lot of other wonder weapons, which is nice. Maybe that's just in my head. There are a couple of different abilities it has. It can shoot regular beams of energy, which will kill the zombies, the tigers normally, or you can charge it, in which it will then create a capture beam. So any enemy within that beam will be lifted into the air and held there, and then you can then, well, do whatever you want to. Either kill them or run around and complete whatever little objective you need to. I think more than anything because its damage is okay. It's not the best there is, but I just find this weapon really cool. I did say this list is kind of based off my opinions, and it is good, let's not forget. Next is the Kraken in Voyage of Despair. Now this is one of the few wonder weapons that I really haven't got a chance to use all that much, so there are probably people out there who would totally disagree with me on this and think it's either a lot better or a lot worse, but just because Voyage of Despair is a map that I don't like, I've only ever gotten this a handful of times. What's good about it is there are multiple different upgrades, so you can just regularly pack punch it or you can put elemental upgrades on it, such as the Breath of Leviathan or Yorgomander's Fang, giving it poison, water or electric abilities, or a fire element. It's good, but again, it's one of the 2 or 3 that I wasn't sure where to place on this list, just because to get it, you've got to play Voyage of Despair. Next, another one of my favourites when it comes to all of its abilities is the Paralyzer in Buried. I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the jet gun because the two work similarly in terms of they have unlimited ammo because instead they use a kind of cooldown. Now, this is great because you never have to worry about needing to find a max ammo, but it does mean you have to learn to use it correctly. And unlike the jet gun, it's a lot more catered towards the casual player, so anyone can figure out how to use it properly after a few games. And it's just much better. You don't have to build it, you can get it from the box. I think it's more powerful. Like the jet gun, you can also use it to fly, which is helpful on Buried because there are multiple different elevated points. You can fly over barriers, get on top of the roofs of buildings, so if you need to get away from the undead, if you end up getting trapped in a corner, you can quickly escape by flying away. Basically, you point fire at the zombies and then it slows them down, eventually killing them if you hold the trigger down for long enough. But the skill is you have to tap the trigger so that you're still causing damage to the undead coming at you, but at the same time not allowing it to overheat. So it is very good, but I do find with weapons like this a little bit annoying sometimes. Just let me kill the zombies. I don't want to have to worry about the cooldown. If this was a list for the funnest wonder weapons in zombies, the 31-79 JGB215 or the baby gun would probably rank in at number 1. In the game files it's actually referred to as the shrink ray, but no one calls it that. I love this wonder weapon as the nickname we've given to it implies. You shoot a beam of it at the undead and any caught in its blast radius shrink to baby sizes, and then in order to kill them you just run into them and kick these little baby zombies. It's so satisfying kicking babies. There's not much else to say about it. Its magazine size is relatively small and its blast radius isn't huge, but because of how Shangri-La is designed, being a very tight map, you don't really need that big blast radius. You just need it to affect the zombies that is straight in front of you, because it's very rare that there's going to be one to your sides, maybe behind, but in front is really where you need to worry about, so that main issue actually isn't that much of an issue. For me, the next best wonder weapon in COD Zombies is the Wunderwaffe DG2, an absolute classic, the first ever wonder weapon besides from the ray gun, but some people don't count that, so I wouldn't be against you classing this as the first wonder weapon ever in Zombies, and boy, was it good. It's returned in quite a few maps since, most famously in Derice or the Giant, but it was first introduced in Shinonuma for World at War, and I don't think we've ever seen a more effective weapon ever for that map and that version of it. Because you could only have, I think it was 24 zombies on the map at once on the World at War version of Shinonuma, and the fact that the Wunderwaffe has infinite damage, so it's a one-shot kill on any round. Because of that 24 zombie limit on World at War Shinonuma, you could kill a whole wave of zombies with pretty much 2 shots, because it can chain 10 zombies together with 1 shot. You just fire it at one zombie and any within that radius will be killed as well. On other maps like the Giant, especially BO3, I didn't think it was as good. It's still great being an infinite damage weapon, killing the undead with 1 shot on any round, whether it's round 10 or round 100, but because it can only kill 10 zombies maximum, I did notice compared to Shinonuma, on other maps it wasn't as good. The next best wonder weapon is the Die, and like I said earlier on, anyone that has multiple variants such as this one on D-Machine, I'm just going to put into one. So the Die weapon has 4 different variants: the Cryo Emitter, the Nova 5, the Electro Bolt, and the Fireball one. And without a doubt, the best one of the bunch is the Electro Bolt. Without this weapon, that final boss scene where you've got to protect Olaf whilst he's shutting down the Cyclotron, that would have been a lot harder. This makes it really, really easy. We do have 1 or 2 other wonder weapons in Zombies that have pretty much the same ability as this. Its reload can be a little bit slow, but when you consider variant wonder weapons in Zombies, sometimes they can be annoying to obtain because you have to do multiple different steps, but this one's pretty easy, which is why I like it. It's a solid wonder weapon, and some of its other variants aren't too far behind either. I would then say the Reiki in Firebase C is a little bit better. I'll be honest, I kind of hate Firebase C. I think it's such a boring map. But the wonder weapon is the one thing I find about it that's fun. As its name implies, and as you can kind of tell, it is an assault rifle version of the ray gun. And so because of that, it's got a big magazine size of 30 rounds. It can hold another 270. It actually has a second ability where it can fire a high-powered energy bolt at a slower fire rate. I kind of tend to forget you can do that, but you then shoot that energy bolt and it causes an explosion. Yeah, to be honest, it's a really solid wonder weapon. It's just a shame that, well, just looking at it, it doesn't really stand out. Sometimes I forget it existed. There's nothing really special about it, but it's solid at what it does, killing the undead, and that's all that really matters. Next on my list are the 4 primordial weapons that you can find in Ancient Evil. These are all really good, but to me the best one is the Hand of Sharon. What it can do is shoot out 3 small blobs of blood magic, which will then manifest into a portal in the ground, causing zombies to be dragged into the underworld. And with the redeemed and exhalated Hand of Sharon, you can create a larger pool of blood on the ground, which will attract more zombies. It's basically a cheat, but yeah, all of the Hands of God come in at this ranking. Next is the Sliquifier. I bet a lot of people were wondering when this would show up. Now, there are a couple of things to take into consideration, because the pre-patched version of this, everybody knows, was one of the most powerful OP wonder weapons to ever exist. And then it got patched, and whilst it was still good, it was nowhere near as effective. Basically, you could shoot just one shot from the Sliquifier and it would kill an entire round of zombies. Not an entire wave, not 10, not 20. If you had it just right and these zombies kept coming one after another, one shot could kill every single zombie on a round. But it was nerfed. It's still a great wonder weapon though. It is buildable, but compared to most of the others, it's really easy. All of the parts are close together. Yeah, one of my favorites. Next is Alistair's Folly. Now, similar to the Kraken on Voyage of Despair, because I didn't play Dead of the Night too much, I only got Alistair's Folly a handful of times, but those couple of times I did try it, it's very, very powerful. It also has 2 upgrades, which are then called the Chaos Theory, and its maximum upgrade is known as Alistair's Annihilator. It's simple in what it does. It fires small green explosive rounds, but it's extremely powerful. Next on my rankings is the Raygun Mark II. Now, because we have multiple different variants of this, the regular Mark II and the elemental versions that we saw in Alpha Omega, I'm just going to put them all into one because I think this is where they would all rank anyway. This is such a versatile weapon. It's definitely an upgrade on the original Raygun, not to say it was bad. One of the other reasons why it makes it so high is because it does appear in multiple maps. It's not just a one-off. Where the Mark II differs to the regular Raygun is this is a 3-round burst. It has a fire rate of 500 RPM. It does 2300 damage per shot, or 50k to the head. It's got a quick reload time, more than enough ammunition. The normal Mark II all-round is great. And then you've got the elemental variants in Alpha, called the Mark II V, which shoots an electric beam, the Mark II X, which fires high-rate projectiles, the Mark II Y, which shoots explosive rounds, and the Mark II Z, which is essentially a laser shotgun. My personal favourite is the Mark II V. They're all good. It's relatively similar to the Die Shockwave. I remember when the Mark II released on Buried, how excited everyone was. Yeah, I love the Mark II, a super reliable weapon. Unlike the Mark I, it doesn't have splash damage, so that comes into the top 10. Next is the Magma Gat from Mob of the Dead. That is the variant that I would pick, but of course the regular version of this weapon is the Blunder Gat, which you can upgrade to turn into the Acid Gat or the Vitrolic Withering. But to be honest, even the Pack-a-Punched version of the Blunder Gat is so good, and the design of this weapon is awesome. The Acid Gat shoots a kind of, well, acid projectile, and anything it lands on, it will then explode shortly after. Its rounds can hurt you, so you do have to be careful. But yeah, really, any version of the Blunder Gat is amazing. But what's better is the Cerberus, or the conversion ready binary repeater standard in Mao the Totem. If for whatever reason some of you haven't tried this, it is one of the most powerful wonder weapons I have ever used. And it's also extremely fun. I love the design on this. I love how unique it is, how it works. You might be thinking, Eli, that just looks like a standard pistol. But all of the different variants you can get on it, which are obtainable totally different to any other weapon. Basically, this right here is the standard Cerberus. But then when you're just playing and shooting the zombies, when you kill them, they will drop other variants of it. Pretty much all of the variants of the Cerberus are amazing and good for different circumstances. There is one which is rubbish, but the other 3 are all great. And to be honest, the standard pistol, the normal version, is the best out of the bunch. I just love how powerful it is and its simplicity. Next, we have another Cold War Zombies weapon, the Crystal Axe in Forsaken. I really wanted to put this higher, but it does come in at 5th. So as you've probably already guessed, as the name implies, it can turn into an axe which you can use to hit the undead, or it can also turn into a gun and it then shoots out crystals. The damage that this thing puts out, how satisfying it feels to use, it's unbelievably good. In at number 4 are the bows in Der Eisendrache, and if I had to pick one specifically, I'm saying the storm bow. Everybody knows how good the elemental bows are in this map. To obtain, not so much. I think some of them can be a little bit of a pain in the arse and long-winded, so that's the only negative I have. Next are the staffs in Origins, and if I have to pick one, the ice staff. There's also the lightning, wind and fire, but ice is my favourite. It puts out 1000 damage, it shoots out blasts of ice, kind of similar to the Winter's Howl, but a lot more powerful, which will slow down the zombies and then eventually freeze them, causing them to crack apart. And once you upgrade it, its ice blast then has more range and a wider area of effect. You can either just shoot it normally, or you can hold down the trigger to charge it, which will cost more ammo, but do more damage. Coming in at number 2, the second best wonder weapon is the Apothicon Servant. We first saw this on Shadows of Evil, it then returned on Revelations, where you can actually upgrade it that time. It is a buildable on Shadows, but it's easy. One of the parts is dropped by killing the Margwa, one of the parts you get from either killing the parasites or the meatballs, and the other you get from harvesting the pods. In Revelations you could get it from the mystery box, which was a lot nicer to be honest. Like a few other weapons, it's similar to a ghost device. You shoot it, it produces a black hole, a rift, zombies get sucked into it, and that's it. I call this the oh my god weapon. If you get yourself trapped up a corner, just shoot it and it's gonna save your life. And the same can be said for the final wonder weapon, the Thunder Gun, in at number 1. The best wonder weapon ever in zombies. Another absolute lifesaver. Seen first in Kino and then returned in multiple maps, it fires a blast of incredibly strong compressed air, pushing the zombies back from you. It's simple, it does what you want a wonder weapon to do, it's not overcomplicated, it's only got one ability, and that's to save your life. I don't think there's a better wonder weapon than this in Call of Duty Zombies, but if there is, well, let me know in the comment section below. So there we go, that is every wonder weapon ranked from worst to best. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you agree with? What would you change? I'm sure you've all got your different opinions. Thank you for watching, drop a like rating if you've enjoyed. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.